Hello. So, woo! March 1973. Right here. Stifled emotionally, physically, energetically, spiritually, stifled. But I'm also someone with a very strong moral compass, and I know right from wrong. And I have traveled through my life improving incrementally. That has been a life focus for me. So it has kept me from being sucked into the dramatics and histrionics and delusions of grandeur that a lot of people have. I am extremely observant. And I was a mute when I was a kid because I am autistic. And I've had to really work hard to develop this. So I've had this distinction of having a lot of covert narcissists and their flying monkeys like constantly come at me, and there was a part of me that would always feel like it was my duty to help them pull themselves up. And it took me a very long time to understand that past a point, it's a charade. It's a charade. It's a play for control, because we have these developmental milestones that we have to all work on hitting, right? I have never used $99 of what I've shared with you guys, I didn't share with my children because I did not want to nail myself to a cross and make excuses. So, what I can see now through the fog of my life was not just that I'm adaptable, because I'm obviously extremely adaptable and resilient, but that I value other people's perspective. I valued my mother's perspective, even my shitty heroin addict father's perspective, and even my children's perspective. So me landing in Lisa took a long time because I was considering everybody's perspective. And what happened along the way is I realized I'm not a capitalist. While all of you guys were busy crying over baby dolls and G.I. Joes and my mommy and my daddy and race and money, I wasn't there. I've never been there. I have been healing myself, but not in a capitalist way, not by having a shopping addiction, not by trying to find a man to dominate or control. I was looking for love. What I kept finding was weaponized incompetence, and then I would break up with them and move on because I don't marriage shame or slut shame myself. I learn, and I do not want to be with an emotional cripple that can't talk about reality as it exists. So as I have connected with men and then discarded them because of their failure, not mine, I have gained so much wisdom. Wisdom. When we moved to Charlotte, I loved it. I loved it. But yet again, I was with a family system that is non-supportive, and I didn't know how to regulate myself physically. So I fell into a depression, and I didn't know I was depressed. And I'm anemic, and I have IBS, and I have autism and ADHD and God knows what else, because lead mimics calcium in your bones. That intuitive part of Lisa that has always been harmonizing with wisdom over histrionics and conceit and addiction. Because y'all, it's so funny. In this country, addiction is rampant, and it's shopping addiction, and it's working addiction. If you're doing something compulsively to escape meeting yourself, because you will have to make moral evaluations on people that you have either given sainthood or demonized. Libra. Well, I don't know. There's this and 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 there's this. Or Cancer. Crab walk, crab walk, crab walk. You never land on yourself and reflecting, looking in a mirror. I am hyper reflective of my choices and how they affect me and the world. And I always knew that the whole mommy daddy thing was weird and creepy. I never hyperfixated on my dad leaving me. I just wanted harmony with my family. I didn't move in with my mother because I owed her anything. I moved in with my mother because I hated to see her suffer. It was not a martyr complex. I was trying to understand her, and through understanding her, me, and then through understanding me, being a better parent, and understanding everything, being a better worker and a better neighbor and a better friend. And oh my God, do narcissists hate when you possess charm, because that is what I am. I am extremely charming. because I genuinely care, and I'm not a sociopath that accumulates that charm and devises schemes to scam. No. Anyway, my mother and my sister Pam and my sister Tony possess zero charm. When my sister Pam was young, she was attractive, but her greed and gluttony and addictive nature led her to chain smoking cigarettes and guzzling any kind of pop she could get her hands on. And she already had PCOS, and which is endocrine disruption. And so I went on a journey of self-reflection. And what happens when a woman is a narcissist, she becomes a dominatrix that likes to sit on a throne and with a magnifying glass examining other people. And boy, does my sister Pam hate people. And boy, does my son Alex hate people. And I can tell by the look on his wife's face that she does too. That's why Catholicism is such a good fit. Yeah, my sister, who does not give a shit about religion, felt drawn to the Catholicism in the 90s. Now that it is ran by someone like me, a humanist, an altruistic humanist, I'm sure she hates it because she will never go into a Hey, Pam. Hey, Pam. Hey, Alex. Hey, Alex's wife. There's this thing called a confessional. Y'all should go confess your sins. You greedy bitches and greedy bastards. Anyway, I am an altruistic humanist. And I've always been this way. So as I got older and I noticed that everybody was jumping into capitalism, all of my friends who were good vibes, all of a sudden they became their parents. I now realize it's because they decided to be Christo-fascist capitalists, and that has never vibed with me, right? Okay, so I do like me some astrology. So I want to read y'all something. Like I told y'all, my birthday is March 31st, 1973. And in my self-exploration, I was told that I was going to achieve more later in life. Okay, makes sense. I dumped a bunch of dead weight, covert and overt narcissists, dead weight, energy vampires, and now I'm flourishing. Look, this is my hair. This is my face. This is my waist. My booty, mine. And see, I never played my face card or my body card. I've always had this. But I never played it because that, to me, felt like shooting fish in a barrel. Because men don't want to have to elevate in order to match energy with accomplished women, so they like to fawn over beautiful women. That has never turned me on. It will never turn me on. But I didn't create masculinity. Anyway, back to me. So, I have Capricorn rising. Slow and steady growth. ruled by Saturn, the planet associated with time, discipline, delayed rewards, mastery, and endurance. Little old May? Yeah. Y'all were built for nothing. Anyway. People with Capricorn rising often feel like life is harder in their teens, 20s, and even 30s, though I did not associate with that. I took it as a challenge for me to meet. Okay. Instead of early recognition, Saturn tends to say, prove yourself, learn, fail, redefine, then I'll reward you. Thank you, Daddy Saturn. Many Capricorn risings don't feel like they're living their authentic lives until their 40s or 50s. I have Saturn in the fifth house, and my Saturn is the house of creativity, self-expression, performing, entertaining, artistic work, and children. Get out of the nest. Grow up, Peter Pan. Wendy says shoo. Anyway, creative confidence develops slowly, yes. Early life may involve not having your authentic voice, being criticized, and taking yourself very seriously. I did take myself very seriously, but I took my behavior. When I would do stupid shit, it would land on me. I didn't project it onto other people. I waited till I had all the facts. And I understood the way this system works. Okay. I want to talk about Rick Sustar. I think we can safely say that my father, the Peter Pan heroin addict, chain smoking, I like poverty, I can roll my own cigarettes, is a covert narcissist. Rick Sustar definitely is a covert narcissist. And what does that mean? That means that he never grew up. Peter Pan never grows up. And how did that manifest in his life? Well, he got married young. Nobody made him get married young, to someone that worshiped the ground he walked on. Worshiped the ground he walked on. And he had a great job. He had a great job for making really great money in the 80s. Great job. You know, this whole, when American exceptionalism meets nailing yourself on a cross forever, I don't know, what the fuck do we call that? I know, weaponized incompetence. Anyway, this woman worshiped him, and she gave him all the money in the world to do whatever he wanted, and lived in a teeny tiny crackerbox house. And like me, she would just go out and garden. And she had a great job. She also worked at Lance. He worked for AC Delco, delivering and picking up car batteries. And he also had a second full-time job smoking cigarettes. And then he had a third full-time job, which was fucking waitresses. Anyway, she liked to garden, and she worshiped him. Right? Well, he had a route, and I don't know how many girlfriends he had on this route, but instead, covert narcissists are like the clavicular wound of I'm not handsome. Nobody wants me. What? Aren't you supposed to be taking care of your responsibilities and not focusing on external, trivial identity wounds? U.S. exceptionalism? Covert narcissism? Weaponized incompetence? Peter Pans? So he was a sexual deviant. He was a sex addict. And of course, I didn't know what that was. Women have been groomed to not examine or identify men's fucking bullshit. And that's why they're crashing out in this country and Europe and all over the world, because women don't fucking care anymore, except the pick-me that has her own identity wound, no matter how much money she makes. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Meh. What the fuck? Anyway, Rick cheated on this woman that worshiped the ground that he walked on with a waitress that had worked at a restaurant that I worked at. That's how I met him. I moved to Charlotte, got sick with depression, anemia, anxiety, all that shit, could not focus, was exhausted, could not focus, would go to school and could not keep my eyes open, and I would go home and go to sleep. But I had gotten a job at Pizza Hut, and having that interaction with people and making money is motivating, right? Well, one day I was walking up and down Sugar Creek, and a Greek dude in an IROC pulled over and was like, hey, he just saw a beautiful young girl. And the next thing I know, I was dating him and working at his family's restaurant. Well, he tried to siphon money out of me and extort me financially, so I dumped him, and I had no direction and no identity, none. I was a clean slate. You guys have no idea how much I resent Lisa for not understanding that in 1990 and 1991, this dummy was making $80 to $100 a day. And that a house then was like $50,000. Fuck me. Fuck me. But I didn't know I didn't know I was autistic. I didn't know I had ADHD. I didn't know I had a bowel disease. I just knew my body, mind, and spirit were not regulating. And my mother was also trying to extort me for money. When I was 16 working at Pizza Hut and my mother was receiving child support from my adopted my adopted father, she was charging me $35 a week in rent. I was 16. So I've always been an adult. I've never had a childhood. That's another reason why I don't put all these mama's boys into a manger and look into them and say, you poor little baby. Someday you are going to be my Lord and Savior. No, I don't do that shit. I never have. I was just trying to figure out which way's up. Anyway, so he and I become friends. It was not sexual or romantic at first. We were just, I was miserable and had no direction. I had broken up with the money extorting Greek. I wish I hadn't thrown it away, but he wrote me a love letter on a check, on a restaurant check that said, "Lisa, you are so beautiful. Let's go shopping." Why is it always about shopping? Let's go shopping. And if you give me $80 a week, so it went from the Scorpio trying to extort me for $35 a week, I think he's a Cancer, to the Cancer trying to extort me for $80 a week. And I didn't know what to do, but I knew that that it was non-supportive, and I knew something inside of me knew reciprocal. I need something reciprocal, but I wasn't there. And the next thing I know, I'm having sex with this 32-year-old. Hold on, let's do the math, because, you know, we know that this is not normal. We know, oh, I'm skipping ahead. How did Rick Sustar get single? How did our Lord and Savior and God's chosen favorite angel in heaven get single from his wife? The first one. He had several affairs, but he cheated on his wife for 9 years with a waitress at the Greek family restaurant that I worked at. 9 years. And him and his wife, Kathy, who he has his son Richie with, would go on double dates with his mistress and her husband. He had an affair with this woman for 9 years. He was sneaky. Lie. Sneak. Lie. Sneak. Anyway, she eventually, Nancy. Her name is Nancy. Richie's mother, stay with me. We gotta get all these double standards out. Richie's mother's name is Kathy, and she's a good woman. Kathy was kind to me. She was genuine with me. She exhibited a level of grace that I do not possess. Thank you, Kathy, because I needed to anchor in some grace at that moment, because I was just a young dummy, right? I didn't understand that he was a fucking deviant. Anyway, so Nancy, which is his son Eric's mother, Eric, she did that on purpose, by the way, very vindictive, very spiteful. So the patriarchy has gives women and themselves, weird shit, has a martyr wound. Kathy martyred herself. And then Nancy was the Mary Magdalene. And he loved to visit each and try to project his little boy wound on why it was okay. It's not okay. It wasn't okay then. It's not okay now. He never had a moral compass. I do. Anyway, So Nancy breaks up with her husband and gives him many ultimatums. And finally, he confesses his sins to Kathy and he moves into an apartment with Nancy. That lasted 1 week. He never had anything in common with Nancy. I'm sure he had more in common with Kathy, but Kathy was mothering him. Kathy was his mother. And see, that's where men split, right? Do you get that? That's where men split. In Christofascism. That's the mommy for I'm a Peter Pan and I can't grow up and I'm going to project every failure onto a woman. Because Rick had told me that he hated his mother. His mother was severely mentally ill. Rick has a sister that is severely mentally ill. This dummy did not realize how much mental illness is in her family and that she was procreating with a disassociative Peter Pan with his own set of skeletons when it comes to mental health. Anyway, in that 1 week of living with Nancy and him deciding, no, I'm not going to do this, he never wanted communion with Nancy. Nancy was where he escaped. Anyway, and he got Nancy pregnant. And Nancy announced it across the universe and slut shamed him publicly. And see, men were not used to their shame being public at that point. And he never really said a lot about any of it. He just kind of looked like a little boy. He just kind of like little boyed it. And I was I was a girl. There's 16 years between him and I. And so, by the time I met him, oh, one more thing. Richie's mother looked at him and said, I forgive you and I will help you raise that child. He didn't want to raise any of his children, y'all. He chose the path of the wounded warrior. The wounded warrior. Forever misunderstood. And I took that time. I got pregnant. And I immediately, maybe pregnancy hormones, maybe it was dopamine for the first time in my life, maybe it was oxytocin, but I immediately felt purposeful and driven. I was very anxious at first. I gained 100 pounds. The day that I gave birth to my son, Andrew, I weighed 210 pounds, but then I wanted him and everybody. I've always had this thing where I've wanted to make other people proud of me. Maybe that's my wound, or it was. Now, fuck you guys. I don't give a fuck. But anyway, I wanted to be the best version of myself. So as soon as I had him, I started exercising like a fucking fiend, and my body naturally started regulating itself. Maybe that's why a lot of women have that urge, because biologically speaking, that's just like the next, and we're retraining our nervous system and our biology that no, we're not, humans are not mature. Anyway, so I was exercising like a fiend, and I was killing at it. I was killing at it. And I did not plan on having another child, but I was exercising so much that my period I wasn't having a period regularly. And one day I felt a flutter. And it scared me. I was like, oh shit, what is that? And I went to the doctor, and I found out that I was 4 months pregnant. I was in the best shape of my life, and I felt great. And I said, I wanted to have an abortion, but I couldn't. And so I was a great mother to that child too. I'm going to switch gears because I want to talk about American exceptionalism and the propaganda that we have had lobbed at us forever about how the glories of democracy, and especially Western democracy, you see this little devilish grin? It's because I know a secret. As I have been healing, I realized that a really large part of why my psyche is so healthy in general, like I've never worshipped money, I've never worshipped Sky Daddy, I've always just been service driven and tried to be the best version of myself. And it led me down a dark hole of like rescue responses, but I'm that's over. I'm not rescuing another living soul. I realized how competitive the real world is outside of the US. Now, in this country, men and women alike hate to compete. The ones that are good at school, go do good at school. The ones that are attractive, go be attractive. The ones that can sing good, go sing, but there's really no pressure to cross the barriers, right? And we also tell everybody, follow your dreams, follow your dreams. Well, my little secret is that as we recover from having our entire government looted by a Christo-fascist and a Zionist, and even the Saudi government, who has the most to gain by beating the shit out of Iran? It wasn't the US. We're getting nothing except debt. This is a coup that was staged by the Saudis. The Saudis. I know this because I astral project by the Saudis and the fucking Zios. Right? Well, guess who's not going to win that Capricorn endurance that I have? The US doesn't have that. The US does not have that. The citizens of the US, and honestly, North America, Central America, and South America, We are soft. We have lived the soft life. Who is going to sneak into not just the hearts, not just the minds and the pockets and the hearts of the global world is Asia. Your astral projecting oracle friend Lisa is telling you that the technocrats, when they establish their dominance in the West and Europe, this is going to be ran like a corporation. And guess who has been basically running their country like a corporation forever? But with a history of understanding the value of harmony, health, and being practical, China. And so all of Asia, including India, they have always had to live a uber competitive academic life. Guess who hasn't? Who has got to lean on their face card and beating people with a cross everything in Asia is about being competitive, and it's normalized there. So they don't cry about it. So my son, Alex, who thinks he's the smartest human on the continent, has never competed with an Asian. Oh, he had a friend in middle school, and the friend in middle school probably had a crush on his blonde hair, blue-eyed face card. So he probably, if they were in the same classes, he probably would let Alex win by a couple points, because I've done that my whole life. I have let all the men and the women. I really did sabotage myself because I wanted everybody to feel equal. And guess what? China, Confucianism, Taoism, their principles do not have a fixation on feelings. No. And another thing your girl has learned as she was trying to heal, and I did not realize how physically sick I had been and what a toll it took on my gut. So when I moved out of my home, handed my home to a narcissist who told me he was going to pay me when it sold, liar. And I didn't make him put it in writing. I just wanted to get the fuck away. Because I didn't want to fucking have anything to do with him. He's fucking gross. Don't worry. I believe in karmic reparations. Keep your money now, bitch. Anyway, I dove deeper and deeper and deeper into trying to figure out, because I was really into like aligning my thoughts, creating harmony with my mind and my body. Like, I had been doing all this yoga. But nobody ever really talks about how, you know, much a family system regulates your health. And I had been regulating everybody's health. I didn't know it. Oddly enough, as soon as me and Wildo the dildo broke up, he had prostate cancer. Interesting. Anyway, I kept digging into psychoanalyzing myself. And at that time, in 2010, 2011, it was your inner child, your inner child, your inner child. Oh my God, North Americans and Jungians and whoever else have wrote these shitty, stupid books about your inner child. Peter Pan and Wendy, y'all need to grow up. Your inner child is an adult. Go look in a mirror. Go look in a fucking mirror, because that's how old you are. Anyway, China and Asian countries also understand the benefit of harmonizing with the collective over the individual. Harmonizing. And that's what I've been doing my whole life, is trying to harmonize with my collective. But all they did was harvest my energy, and now they can't harvest it. I have successfully, I felt it. All you little baby witches that are doing cord cuttings, let me tell you how to know if it's successful. And if you find yourself in constant toxic cycles of relationships and there's no harmony, you better look at your family system, because if you're white, and white people have a very bad habit of spreading their funky, filthy fascism onto black communities and brown communities. I'm looking at you, Cuba. I'm looking at colorism. I'm looking at anybody that can't find harmony in their life, because harmony is not everything being perfect. No. Harmony doesn't mean you win the lottery. Harmony doesn't mean you have your Barbie dream house and your Barbie dream car and your Barbie dream husband, your Ken doll, your Barbie doll. No. Y'all have no idea how good I feel, how good I look. I'm aging backwards. Have you noticed Asians don't crack? Anyway, I did tons of acupuncture, and I accepted truths that I didn't like. Giving birth to children that I have to sacrifice to the demon of the patriarchy, that I had to literally grow children in my sacred, this is sacred, my portal, to have them choose covert narcissism, Peter Pan syndrome, malignant narcissist, I am the God of all creation in the world, Y'all, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. One of the big things I had to do to heal was to be very, 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 very centered in the fact that my codependency obsession with fixing broken toys through codependency is fucking narcissism. Oh, but I'm an empath. I am empathetic, but it will kill you if you don't stop. Oh, look at my stigmatas. I sacrifice. And anyway, harmony. I let myself be angry. I let myself be uncertain. I let myself not be thrilled. I let myself feel something for an appropriate amount of time, and then I tell myself to get over it. Get over it. You are not the queen of the universe, Lisa. You are not a Barbie doll. You are a human living a mortal life. Harmonize with nature. I have been an environmentalist my whole fucking life, and I've been screaming that shit at people and everybody as they, Lisa, go shopping. I have always considered my footprint. And my footprint is small. Anyway, let's talk about how much all y'all are going to lose your shit when you actually have to compete with AI and Asians. When you have to compete. So, women, you're not just competing with beauty anymore. You're competing with real competition. Y'all's Daddy Ink and Mommy Ink better close. Y'all's Barney, I love you, you love me, we're a happy family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? I noticed that my children were awesome until they had to become competitive. And instead of talking to me and telling me that they had performance anxiety, they leaned on the old faithful misogyny and sexual perversion and domination. Maybe I can tell you, my son Alex played baseball, and he told me this is middle school. He played baseball, and he played golf, and I had him in the International Baccalaureate program where he would have graduated high school with an associate's degree, but he started crashing out instead of telling me, hey, I'm not going to diagnose him. He needs to go. Mothers, we no longer diagnose our sons, and neither should their flying monkeys go get a real diagnosis, because the first thing that it's going to land on is narcissism. Anytime there was real competition, crash out, crash out, crash out, and go join the Marine Corps. My sister Pam told me Alex could have had a full ride to LSU because there is a test that high school students can take and get a full ride scholarship to a public university. And she was shocked that he managed to fail the test by 1 point. He didn't fail. That was self-sabotage. That was purposeful. That was purposeful. That was on purpose. My son is not a macho man. He is a facade of strength through a scowl. Old Faithful. Old Faithful, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing. I made a thumbnail of one of my videos, me with my arms crossed scowling. That was me as a 8-year-old that had just returned back from Oklahoma where I was raped and told if I told anybody that nobody would believe me and my mother and my sister would be killed. That's real trauma. That's real trauma. Your identity wounds, nobody cares. And the technocrats, guess what? This is the part I love. Because, your girl loves to do her research. This is what? Y'all are going to love this. Y'all are going to love this. Stay with me. I'm going to make you sit here. Okay. Confucian, China is influenced by Confucian traditions, family obligation, social harmony, respect for institutions, group coordination, and long-term collective goals. Me and Wildo resonated on the long-term collective goals when we met, and oh my God, all of a sudden, all this stuff was happening, and it was great. But it didn't last because he started making money and crashed out. Anyway, I want to get to the technocrat stuff because y'all are really going to crash out. There are figures outside of the AI mainstream who advocate for measuring citizens primarily through economic productivity. Now, as they automate most things, and y'all have to compete at the level that Asians always have. I'm going to be eating my popcorn. Isn't that audacious?